customers are already giving you their time and energy while they stop or shop. Now it's time to give them a reason to keep coming back. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of EV Charging Minute. Your place to come and learn and get ideas and tips about commercial EV charging, how it can benefit your properties, benefit your NOIs, and how to maximize your ROI when you are thinking about installing EV charging. Today, we're taking a dive looking at linking the charger to loyalty cards and loyalty programs, right? Putting that all together, we're talking about how we can turn this really into a marketing tool, okay? Any of you that know me or listen to some of the things I've said or read any of my articles and things like that, you know, one of the things I've been saying for years, since I got into this, I've been trying to explain to everybody that the bulk of EV charging outside of the home, okay, when you look at it, right, and a little context of this whole thing, when you look at the big broad picture of EV charging, so as a whole, 70 to 80% of charging is going to occur at the home. Like when this builds all out, it's going to occur at the home. And then there's this whole group of okay, what happens, Tony, with that other 25%? Well, there's DC fast charging, which is what you hear all about. Like the whole range anxiety is all about DC fast charging. But when you really look at the landscape, DC fast charging really makes up a very small percentage of the charging that will, that a full build out system is. It's like 10% or less. There's a whole chunk of charging in the middle that's often referred to as like a semi-private. And this is like workplace charging. This is all the things like that. But that whole section of charging, which is a very big chunk, it's like 30-some% of the built out charging that's going to be around, falls into this semi-private area. And that is a huge marketing tool. That's going to be a marketing tool. It's going to be a perk. It's going to be all these places that you think of that are going to have EV charging available for their customers, for their employees, for their guests, for their residents, right? There's this whole group that's going to sit there. And so today we're talking about how that's going to benefit retail properties, right? That's really the main reason for anybody to put, in my opinion, okay? And I've said this to all of our host properties. The main reason for you to put EV charging in at your commercial property is to attract the tenants, the guests, the customers, to keep that loyalty, keep coming back, to hire good employees. You don't put these in on this level 2 side. Like, if you're doing a gas station model and putting in a DC fast charger, that's a little different than what we're talking about today. Okay. That's a kind of a gas pump replacement thing, right? When you're looking at that, that's a little different than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about all the places that you drive around town where you might have a level 2 charger, a hotel. Why do you need one at a hotel? Well, you have overnight guests that want to come and they want to charge their car. They're going to come to you because you have that charger. So it's a marketing tool. Why do you need one at a grocery store? I could argue that most times you don't, because most of the people that shop at a grocery store, they're within 20 miles of their home. So they're just going to drive back home and plug up and charge. However, if you're in an urban environment where there's a lot of condos and places where they don't have home charging, then charger makes great sense. But what's the value of it to you as a grocery store? Well, if you can get that person to come back to you every Sunday or Saturday to do their shopping, or stop twice a week to charge up a little while they're grabbing some groceries, you can make some extra money off of them and keep them coming back. So that's where this whole thing, and that's what we're talking about today, for this to really work like it will, like, what you're going to see over the time is all this integration and all this connection, because this is what will drive that infrastructure build out. Okay. We've talked about it. People talk about it all the time, like, oh, the lack of infrastructure. Well, there's reasons for that. You got to have demand to have the time to put it in, right? For a retail store or a coffee shop to put in a charger, they got to know they're going to get something back as a return. Well, that's where this starts to come in. If you were to look at it today as just like, oh, I'm going to put in a charger at my coffee shop and somebody's going to come in and plug in and they're going to, sit there for an hour or 30 minutes and I'm going to make $10. You start figuring out how many people do that and how many times you need it done to pay for that charger, it doesn't really work. But when you say, wait a minute, I'm going to bring that guest back 3 more times a week because I have the charger. I'm going to maybe sell them an add-on piece of food or maybe a second drink because they're staying longer, right? There's so many things that are going to happen with this integration stuff and everything that you're going to get the value. That's how the value is going to be realized by people putting in these chargers, not just by what you charge your customer to use them. So we have to understand that and recognize that's where it's going. And as all this stuff starts to come together, we'll see it really proliferate and benefit back to the commercial properties. So what's this integration going to look like? How's this all going to work? Well, we're going to talk about it today, really just from a high level. A lot of this is still in the works, but I can promise you that a lot of it's being worked on and even some of it's coming together. Some of it's capable today. Some of it still needs a little bit of programming. But what we're going to go through today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the technology and integrations and what can be done there. And then I'll talk about how commercial property is going to use this, right? The things that you can do so you can really think about how this can, work and where it looks like in the future. And then finish off, going to tell you what the real value here is, right? So let's dive into the technology. So there's a couple of ways that we can link EV charging to our customers and our loyalty programs and reward points and all that stuff. So there are ways to sync the software, there's software that runs the charger. You can now sync that with your CRM or your property booking system or your resident system, things like you can integrate those together so they can communicate back and forth. And so using APIs, which a lot of things do nowadays, you could have that sync together where when a person goes up to use the charger, a member using my network and they're a member in my network, but they've also synced to your CRM because they wanted to sign up for the loyalty. Because they do all that, now it's synced inside my app because my app talked to your app or your program and we communicated. So all that syncing can happen through an API. That's one way to link all this together, and that's what a lot of people are working on. There is also ways, one of the things that we've developed and we're continuing to build here is ways to actually control the chargers using your app, right? So we don't need a second layer of software. Many people have mobile apps for the reward programs, right? So if you have a mobile app for your reward program and you want to put some chargers out for your reward members, we can actually give you a software kit that loads inside your mobile app, and a little bit of user interface designed by your team and working with us to kind of sync it. But then all they do is when they get to their charger, when they want to use the charger, there's now a button inside your app to access that charger. And we can even do that to coordinate wallets and charge them if you wanted to, or give them free charging, right? So it can all be done inside your app, which adds some additional benefits to you. Where we're working on this real deep is going to be on a hospitality or hotel integration. One of the places we're working on it now and doing some testing is connecting it like mobile keys. When you go to a hotel and you get a mobile key, you just walk around with your phone and you open the app in your phone and you put it in front of your door and the door opens up. Well, we're going to have it so you do that same thing in front of our charger. You open up the app, you open up the hotel app and press the button in front of the charger. It knows who you are. It turns the charger on and then you plug in and charge. So that's another way. that it integrates. So not even having to have software inside, instead of having 2 layers of software, we build a system that allows your software to run it. And then a very simple way is member RFID cards, right? A lot of people are using member cards. That's how you control access or different things, maybe a gym membership, a reward point membership, different things like that, right? So if you have something like that, you can actually, those RFID cards can actually be linked back to their account on like our platform. So instead of having to download an app or anything like that, or open the app to use the app, they do have to create an account with the software, but then they would have them, your loyalty app would just turn the charger on and off. Right. So that can make it real simple. That is something we do today. We have a lot of places today, from residential places and reward places and workplaces, that use the RFID option. We just throw we've got the chargers set up. The RFID cards are programmed to operate the charger, and that's it. They give them an RFID card, period. They don't have an account or anything. They just, boom, swipe the RFID card. So those are ways that it can all happen on the integration side. And I'm sure there's even more coming. There'll be links, there'll be things, coming out there, as this grows out. But that is what's out there today. Really cool stuff. And really the possibilities are endless. So cool. Now we can get it all linked, right? Get it all linked. Now, what do we do with that, right? Like, what can we do with it? So I already mentioned one of the easy ones, right? So one of the easy ones here is simply a member card giving somebody access to a charger. So if you think about that one, if I have a retail center, a retail shop, and I put charging in, or even a restaurant, right? If I have a restaurant, sit-down restaurant where somebody's going to be there for a little while, now, and I put in some level 2 charging. We're not talking about going into a high DC fast charging side. And I agree, if I have a restaurant, right, and somebody's only there for an hour or 45 minutes, is there a lot of value of a level 2 charger? Not a whole lot, except when you look at the long-term play of always be charging. If you're in an urban area, and I have you got to think of some habits here of driving. So if a normal urban dweller that lives in an apartment complex that doesn't have charging, let's say they, drive 30, 40, 50 miles a day, right? So they drive 50 miles a day. So they really need, somewhere along the line, they need to catch about an hour and a half to 2 hours of level 2 charging every day to maintain that. So if they have a level 2 charger at their gym that they go to, if they have one at the shopping center that they go to, and then they have a couple favorite restaurants that have chargers, they don't need to worry about going to a fast charger as much, right? They could almost get all their charging done for free. So if I have a restaurant and I put a level 2 charger in, and I give it away to anybody that's in my restaurant, because I make them get a card and, make them be a frequent shopper, whatever, however you set that up. But if they're there for an hour, my charger gave them 10 kilowatt hours of power. So it might have cost me $1.50. Most people are going to spend, I'm going to make well more than that if they're sitting in my restaurant for an hour, right? So this is a great way to lure people in. So that's one way, and that's a very easy way. You can do that anywhere today. All the tech, you don't even need fancy technology for that, right? You can actually use a very simple, like I tell you the way that if you want to test this, and we do this at some of our smaller properties, we give them an RFID, a basic charger with just an RFID card, and they keep that RFID card in behind the front desk or in the inside the store, and somebody says, "Oh, I want to use your charger." Okay, here, take the card out, swipe it, it'll turn the charger on. Now they're in your store. They, and you can do all that for, a $900 charger, right? So that's the basics, right? That's where it starts. But when you really start into the full integration, right? Get into that full integration. There are just endless possibilities of what we can do. So we can control the chargers. We can determine who has access. So we can set a charger up and only certain people can have access to it. We can control what time they can use it even. We can set these things so, unless you're a certain level or a reward member, maybe you can't use them at night or during the day or different things. We can do all kinds of control that way. We can set different rates, different fees, different penalty schemes, anything imaginable in that. So like if you have multiple tiers in your reward program, you can set the different reward levels. We always felt it, and I know this is coming down the pike eventually, but you look at your hotel points and the people that get up to the top levels, those diamonds and platinums and these road warriors, people that travel a lot, they get a lot of perks. Well, we're sure that one day free EV charging is going to be part of those perks. I may not get it as a basic member or a silver member or a gold member or whatever, diamond, whatever the different levels they have, but those top tiers might. And you can do the same thing, whether it's your coffee shop, your retail store, whatever, like frequent shoppers can get better things. We can also use because you're using apps, you're using stuff, we can do a lot of cross-selling, cross promotions, get other people, around you and work with other companies to offer different things in through these programs. And, we saw you charged. And, as you know more about the EV charging demographic, you might be able to be like, well, you have a retail store and, we see, you're here using our chargers again. As a reward member with us, we were able to get you a free scone at the cafe down the street while you're here. Different things like that. We can do that. Then you can also set these up to add to the points. Like if you have a point system or rewards points, you can turn kilowatt hours into points that go into the system, that go into their bank. You can reverse that. Like down around me, there's a grocery store, Harris Teeter, and they do fuel perks, right? So based on your points, they turn into fuel perks. Well, you could do the same thing, but they're charging perks. So based on the points they get, they, if they spend $100, they get $10 in charging points or whatever, right? And so now they get an hour of free charging for 10 points. There's all kinds of things we can do like that. We can also create special VIP type things, like special chargers. If you're like a larger retail location, might want to consider maybe some mid-level DC fast chargers, and you can have those set up that, if you're a VIP member, you shop here a lot, you get access to those for free. If you're not a VIP member, then you got to pay the 50 cents a kilowatt hour to use them. You can set up reservation systems. So you can see there's a whole lot that can end up being done here to reward your frequent chargers, right? The people that come to you a lot, and not really your frequent chargers. We're talking about taking care of your customers, right? Your people, your tenants. You can reward them. So the value to you, like what does this mean to the location is it improves your member sign up, right? If you have EV charging and the only way to use it is to become a reward member, well, that's a reason right there for a lot of people to sign up. App downloads, it's kind of funny to me because I'm an app person and it doesn't bother me, but to talking with some of hotel people and stuff, and to realize how few people actually like download the hotel app. Like people they just don't want to get involved in creating a reward system, reward points and all that stuff in a hotel system. So this is a way to help you do that, right? We all know the value from a retail and loyalty. The value of loyalty is huge. We know that. One of the biggest challenges is how do we get people to sign up for our programs? Well, EV charging now becomes a way. If you think about that $1.50 it costs you to give that person an hour of free charging. Yeah, you had to invest in the equipment and all and put all that there. But think about this, right? You invest, let's say you invest $20,000 to put some chargers in at your property, and you find out that by putting that in and connecting it to your loyalty app, that you were able to convince 10,000 people to download and sign up for that app. Well, that only now costs you $2 to get them, that customer acquisition or that app download only costs you a couple bucks. So it's really, when the big scheme of things, you start to think about it, it really can help you improve those app downloads. We had a conversation not too long ago with a large casual dining organization a little bit, just kind of brainstorming about it. And that's what we were explaining to them. Like, think about this. If you take those type of restaurants you see off the highway interstates, right? They're up and down all your interstates. Everywhere you turn, there's a Ruby Tuesdays, Chili's, all those different ones, right? So, people like that, right? You think about those people, they all probably all have apps. They'd all love for you to use their app and download it because they can send you specials and market to you. Well, they're all on highways, right? So what if we told them, like, think about this. What if you had some chargers out in your parking lot and you let people that come into your restaurant, as long as they signed up and downloaded your mobile app and signed up for it, you're going to let them use those chargers for free. Did you gain customers that way? Did that improve your customer? Did you acquire a new customer because of that? And if so, what was that customer acquisition cost? So it drives it way down. And we're actually working with them, doing some studies and doing some testing, because we think it's a huge opportunity for them. The other value too, it increases loyalty and stickiness. People are going to come back to you because of the charging. We know that. We see it. We see the same people returning to locations over and over again because the charging's there. And as a service provider, we have data. We have the data. We know that we know that Tom Smith does not live in Spokane, Washington, but we know he's at that hotel every other month for 4 nights. We know he's there, right? So we know it brings people back, and we do know it's studies show it just improves overall customer satisfaction. Of course, it doesn't satisfy everybody because people, everybody's driving EVs, but the ones that do drive EVs, they're more happy that you have the charging there, and they're more satisfied. So it does bring huge value to the properties. I still maintain, and I will say this forever, it's going to take a while for the data to prove out, but the real strong value, the place that you cannot go wrong with EV charging in commercial real estate is this value, this loyalty value, this repeat customer value. This is where it really is. It's the marketing value that really drives it. So that's what it does for you. Now, there's one other piece I want to just wrap up with that just puts the icing on the cake here of that, and I just kind of alluded to it a little bit, is the data. The data you're going to get from this, right? We haven't even touched the surface of what we can do with the data we have when we have nationwide networks with, and the booking site, right? Us as Stay in Charge, we have the booking site and the nationwide network of chargers. So we know a lot of habits that are going on. We know a lot of things that EV drivers are doing. If you have this integrated now into your loyalty programs, now you know more about it too, because what we don't know, so we know that, I'll give you an example here. So we know we have 6, 7, anywhere from 5 to 8,000 people come to our website every month, and they go through there and they find a hotel in their destination, and of those 8 to 10, of those we get about 60-70% of them click through our site to book a room. So we know that this is happening. We also know who that person is. What we don't know is, are they a Marriott or a Hilton or IHG member? We don't know that, right? Because we haven't linked with them yet. We're still in our silo, they're still in their silo. But once we all get more integrated here, now we know even more, right? Now you know that, oh, wait a minute, that person's coming back. So if you had our chargers in your parking lot at your retail store, we're going to know who shows up. You will know because you can see, like, there's some stuff we can share with you. We can't, obviously, they sign a member agreement with us, so we can't give you their email address because they didn't agree to that. But we can show you, this person came back 6 times this month. Like, we can give you a good data. But once you integrate that with your system, with your loyalty side, the two things happen, right? The customer agrees because when they said, oh, yes, I want this connected to my loyalty program, they just now gave you permission to connect the data. So now we can share data. We can tell you that Mr. Smith showed up 3 times this month, and you can go, yeah, Mr. Smith is here. He was actually at our location 12 times, so he must not always use the charger. You see where this value starts to come in? You start to see the habits. You start to know more about the customers and who's using these chargers, and really start to drive your programs to support it. Okay, we're super excited about where it's all headed. We have people working on this every day, just looking at what we can do, where we can go, and digging into it. And we're barely scratching the surface yet. I mean, this is going to this is something that you've never, when you look at it big picture, it's something we've never had before. You didn't know where somebody stopped and got gas when they were on their way to get to, to come to you, right? You didn't know that. But with EV charging, we know a lot more. And if somebody was to use my website to book their room to somewhere that they're going 3 months from now, we know now where they're going. Right? We know that they're going to be heading over to, North Dakota next month. And if they were to use my app for route planning, or my integration into their navigation system is if we had that link together where they're communicating, and now we know, okay, we know where they are because we know when they stopped at this charger. We now know when they're 4 hours away from your property arriving. We now know so many things, and we can go back to them and say, hey, we see you're arriving at 5 o'clock. Are you going to want to charge when you get there, or should we reserve a charger for later? Oh, right. See what we can do with all this stuff? It really becomes a very integrated and very valuable solution in the future. So I get a little excited about this. I'm sorry I went a little long. This is like, as I built this whole thing and got into EV charging, what I recognized a long time ago was it is a marketing tool more than anything else, and it will become that over time. Just watch. All right. So EV charging will evolve, no doubt about it. And this whole idea of customer rewards and loyalty points and all that stuff is what will absolutely drive the long-term value for locations to embrace EV charging. And as I, explained in here, not everybody has to look at expensive DC charging. I hear this too often. People go, well, I'm not going to spend all that money. But you don't need to spend a lot of money for these things to attract value for you. So this is where the future is going to be. This is where you'll get your value of it in the long run. So pay attention. Make sure that when you're talking to anybody, if you're working with anybody doing EV charging with you, make sure that their systems have open APIs. Make sure they're looking at this stuff. Ask them, what are they doing? What are their future integrations? Have they done any? Are they looking at it, right? Because if you've got a piece of dormant software that doesn't have those, those open accesses, then what's going to happen? You're going to have to be replaced that one day. So make sure you're looking into that. And yeah, this is exciting stuff, and it will help you drive revenue. I mean, that's the exciting thing to me that I've always liked about EV charging, is it becomes a revenue tool for the commercial property. So that's it for today. Next week, we are going to take a look at advertising and promotion. You see a lot of people have these chargers with big screens on them and, things like that. And I'm going to talk about that, advertising and promotion on the chargers and the networks, and really kind of dig in, does it work? Okay, does this work? Is it really something? Will it become something or not become something? And that is all. So tune in next week for that. But that's it for today, folks. So glad you were here. Thank you again. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Share this out to your friends, anybody you know, your colleagues, that stuff. Find us on social media too. Help promote it. I mention this every now and then, but we have some other stuff that runs on there, videos and little things like that that can help you also get ideas and stuff. So check us out there. Follow us. Reach out anytime you want. Tony B at stayincharge.com. Be glad to talk with you. And that's it. Everybody have an amazing weekend, and we will see you next week.